So how does the roll call?
She will get the recorder out and then she'll call the roll call. Correct.
Rhonda Gutierrez,
Here.
Electra Sutton,
Here.
Pat Langdon,
Here.
Derek Martin, city manager,
Present.
and Pamela Taylor, recording clerk and code enforcement.
You forgot Jean.
I'm here.
Oh, Jane Bauman, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
she's right in the middle, I'm sorry.
She couldn't see it from over there.
Okay,
Motion to approve the minutes.
What's the date on those minutes?
On the minutes is January 22nd, 2026.
Thank you.
I motion we accept the minutes. Is everybody done or not done?
Does anyone want to second the motion?
Second.
Motion accepted. Minutes are accepted. Next is old business irrigation in various locations. Does anybody want to explain what that means?
So there was a couple of questions brought up about irrigation in some of the parks and also some of our plantings. I have gone out with Public Works to look at the irrigation along Central. We fixed a couple issues. Our larger planters here on this end in front of the Ace Hardware has been fixed. We are working on the area down here. I believe Chris and I went and looked at that. And that is also being addressed down at the south end of Central as well. Eveline Park, there are heads.
There's a system.
There's nothing flowing right now.
Exactly. It
Give
hasn't
me,
been
give
for
me,
years.
give me some time. We are in fact watering the trees though that need to be watered. I have the water truck. We have several 100-foot hose, so we're not having to drive into the park, and we're gonna be taking care of those, especially until we get the irrigation system. It's gonna be set on a set schedule to water a lot of the camellias and some of the other plants as well.
So, okay, back to, in front of Ace Hardware, there was the camellia, the furthest to the west, had, it was cut off. Not camellia, crepe myrtle.
The crepe myrtle.
That's been repaired and that is, because the whole stem is split, it might not even.
We saw that tree. We believe that that's actually termite damage, and so that'll be addressed and taken care of as well.
But there's now irrigation to
Yes.
that plant.
There's irrigation there. Yes,
Okay.
we turned it all on and checked it. It comes on around 5 o'clock in the mornings, but we haven't manually turned that on. I wanna make sure before we do things on that side with the grass, that we, sitting area, different stuff that we're planning on doing as part of our master plan, we have water. The plantings, whatever, we're able to water those plants. And future trees if we decide to do that.
Okay, so the irrigation at Eagle Lion is being held up because,
manpower budget. It's an extensive system, there are heads. I'm still down one person in Public Works and, right now, if there's something that needs to be manually watered, plant such as camellias that are there, it's been scheduled to do so.
okay. 'Cause I'm wondering if there's like I don't know what it's called, of the irrigation system in that park. I mean, it could be that it could even be scaled down to
It could,
just,
and we'll take a
don't
look,
need to be watered.
we'll take a look at it. We are entering now into our budget season. Starting April 1st, we're gonna start doing heavy budget discussions this week. We've been meeting with all of our staff, reconciling the accounts and going over their needs and wants. We're way ahead of the game this year, starting early. The irrigation in Eagle Line Park and other parks, as well as camera systems and other stuff that are being discussed in that budget. So right now, of course, it's a budget constraint. Ms. Barman, that's where we are, and of course, manpower constraint, but we will address those in the budget for this upcoming 26-27 year.
Derek, are there irrigation heads over by the tennis courts?
I couldn't answer that, fully. I know I've seen irrigation heads in the park area, north, the ones that I've seen are north of the pavilion.
Oh, okay. Because there's an awful lot of traffic that happens over there.
Sure, and we'll address that later, with a system that will be outside of that, and possible signage to keep off the grass and other things like that. That all goes in the budget planning.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we move on to containers on Central Line? What is the issue there?
So the old businesses, containers, we'll bring that up in new business, but we've looked at the containers, we've got an idea of what we want to do. We're gonna present that to you all today under new business, even with some costing, which is within our budget. And so we'll bring that up in a little while. That the discussion earlier was who's responsible, how is it gonna get paid, paid for, and when is it gonna be done? We have those answers today.
Are those the plastic containers along the sidewalk, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. The large containers.
Right. Then it says Update America in Bloom program?
Right, that was a program that we discussed last year, and we were going to, reach out, and I think the commission voted that we could spend $99 to become a part of it.
It's in the budget, and yes.
Yeah, so we just never followed through with it.
Anybody who wants to take
I
that
would,
on can do that.
I would do the research and contact.
Okay, and then email me and let me know, and we'll get it taken care of on our end.
Okay.
Okay?
What does it entail?
We have a public comment?
Yes, Lisa. Ms. DeVito.
Thank you, Lisa DeVito, 108 South Main Street. I just wanted to confirm, I'm also a city commissioner. Sorry, I'm holding my afternoon coffee. No place to put it. It's my understanding that the city commission did put the money to subscribe or participate in American Bloom as level 1 entry point. The information should be in the past minutes. It's pretty simple. You just go on the website and apply. So I'm happy to forward that to the city manager, and that could be forwarded to, again, because it should be in the past file, but I'm happy to do that if y'all would like me to.
You're already familiar with this program? right?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like she's already on board.
Well, I mean, if you've got information in your computer that you.
Yeah.
We've all
Yeah,
seen it,
and what I'm-
she didn't.
Saying is it was presented and it should be, the contact information should be part of the file of prior meetings of this train guard board. But I would be happy to pull it up on my computer. I can forward it to the city manager. I hope the price hasn't gone up, because it's been a while. And then maybe the city manager could forward it to everybody else, and then the seventh would have it.
If the price did go up and we were approved for level 1, would we have to go back and ask for approval for $105?
We
Instead
have
of 99, or would it just be?
We have more in the budget for that, yeah, but as long, I would have to take it to commission unless it was over $1,000. And that's not gonna be anywhere near that, that would be good. If I could, Madam Chair. We got started on here and I asked for someone else if they wanted to chair this meeting, and I want to appreciate you, publicly for doing so, but I wanted to also formally welcome Electra to the new Tree and Garden. We're delighted to have you join the Tree and Garden Board. Your enthusiasm for plants, combined with your strong background in data analysis and visualization, will bring valuable insight to our initiatives. Whether it's understanding trends in tree health or helping us communicate data clearly to the community, or supporting strategic planning, your skill set's perfect fit for where I believe this board is going next. So thank you for being here.
I am very happy to be here again. And perhaps when we look at this information about the American bloom, and we all be, I have no idea what that is, but I don't want to take the time at the moment to go over. Next is ARBnet.
We had a question.
Oh, sorry.
We're still on ARBnet, correct?
We just kind of started, we were in American in Bloom, but now we're on ARBnet.
Crescent 1965, County Road 308 extension, in relation both to the Arboretum and the ARBnet. The cost is still the same, but there are 5 criteria that we have to meet when we apply. Those criteria have to be an Arboretum plan, a plan for a governing group, 1 staff member and or volunteer who manages the Arboretum, and a labeled collection of at least 25 different taxa species, subspecies, and cultivars, and 1 tree-related event that is open to the public. So in relation to both the previous line item and also the arb.net, the plan that we'll talk about under new business was created with those 5 criteria in mind. So that does meet all of the criteria to meet the application.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Chris Etter.
Okay, and ARBnet is a type of connectivity information, or what is?
We didn't really get into that yet.
You're going to address it later?
No, we were on American in Bloom,
Right.
and then we were moving into ARBnet, so he's
Correct.
speaking on ARBnet, but we really didn't.
And both of those kind of go hand in hand, both of those
What is
items. So
ARBnet?
It's do you want to explain what ARBnet is? It's Arboretum.
it's an arboretum designation that a city can receive to be an arboretum city that, puts us on the map, allows us to be able to do some training within the town and be recognized at a state level. So they have, many sites and locations. San Bernardino Beach, Ferdinand Beach, for example, all have the same designation as a city, but it goes very much hand in hand with the previous agenda item that both could and should be done, in my opinion, simultaneously. But the item in new business does account for both of those.
Does the word net imply that you are then intertwined with these other towns for any collaboration?
It is a network, but it's not a collaborative effort. So ARBNet is just the name of their organization. So it's arbnet.org is the name of their nonprofit organization.
What does it expect of the town?
It expects of the town the 5 items that I mentioned: the Arboretum plan, a governing group, 1 staff member or volunteer, a collection of 25 taxa or subspecies, and 1 tree or gardening related event per year.
The first one was what?
The first one is a plan for an arboretum or a growing area.
That would be?
And all 5 of those are under new business.
Oh, okay.
Fernandina Beach did their, what would you call it, Lisa?
Could I?
Their community, their town, their main street.
Yeah, may I be recognized?
I'm
asking Electra.
okay. We can explain it to you.
Ms. DeVito?
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so again, Lisa DeVito again. Yes, I actually presented and brought information about becoming a level 1 arboretum last fall to the Tree and Garden Board when I visited Fernandina Beach for Main Street Conference and Historic Preservation Conference. The rest of you may remember that brought back information, I found that downtown Fernandina Beach has achieved the designation of a level 1 arboretum. And it's not hard, it doesn't cost very much. Their downtown is designated as a garden. And it meets all the requirements, and my initial idea was that Eagle Lion Park and adjacent areas in the core of Crescent City should easily qualify. And it's not expensive, so that was the initial idea, and again, in past minutes, or the files, and I can provide it again, there should be, information. But, downtown Fernandina Beach has banners hanging that show that it's designated as a garden, and it looks very nice.
Would the plants suffice? We don't have to have lots of banners and.
You know, and we have sufficient foliage, our existing foliage, our trees, our bushes should qualify us. You just have to take care of them, and, Chris, right, they need to be labeled, which is not difficult. The little signs are not expensive. And as Chris Edler mentioned, you have to have at least one event to which the public is invited. And Crescent City, if they keep doing Arbor Day, I think that would work. But,
It sounds like we fit perfectly already.
that was my thought, that after I, saw Fernandina Beach in July. And again, I will re-forward the information so it can be shared with the new members.
Okay, thanks very much, Mrs.
Sure. And I have pictures.
Next one, we're moving on. Mulch for the Heritage Oaks Neverland Park. I actually remember that topic because it protects the roots from the traffic and the boring. I don't think it protects from the boring, actually, but.
So obviously catfish is 2 weeks away.
Yes, and this was a recommendation. It's very expensive. We priced out getting mulch from a couple various sources with the type of mulch we would need. Plus, it's more of a maintenance issue. The best thing that I could do, and we did it for the Soul Food Fest, was we kept vehicles off the grass.
You know what, I went through this when I was on the committee before, and one of the members, Spicer, mentioned that the roots do not really go beyond the canopy edge.
The drip line.
Right, so if, my suggestion at the time was if you don't let vehicles or boring happen inside that line, you're okay. And you can actually put a piece of tape around to show not to do that, and then you don't need a lot of mulch, you just.
Yeah, and that's the plan. We actually have a designated plan that's been looked at. They've put in their permits and we've had walkthroughs. There won't be any vehicles driving in the park
Oh, cool.
For the catfish,
for the
I've got
catfish.
the cookers and
Not gonna be
small
driving in the park.
cabbage.
They're gonna put in tents, canopy tents, but no vehicles are gonna be driving.
Are they gonna be
along
doing the 4x4 posts to put in those canopy tents?
I believe they have a different way that they're gonna do it this time.
Smaller?
Smaller, less
Less
intrusive.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
But mulch still helps the roots hold moisture, et cetera. And there's free mulch. I mean, I know Chris has some tree trimming friends.
It comes down to maintenance and long-term maintenance because, you know, and again, you might be able to save some money, but we don't have the manpower to maintain that, in the long term.
So if,
The best thing we can do is just keep people off of it.
that would serve the same purpose.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to the planted area on Summit
Excuse me one second.
Avenue.
We missed one above that,
What,
above the mulch.
Heritage Oak, oh, there
No, it
was
was
a
the-
button there.
Plantings on Eagle Lion Park suggested in the annual tree board plan. But now he's left, so,
Most the heritage we did, oh, I see.
you see that one?
Yeah, I do. Plant, what does it say, plant?
Plantings for Eagle Lion Park. I don't know, we didn't get a copy of the current tree
Maybe,
garden board.
maybe,
Plan.
Chris here knows what they're talking about. plantings?
No, I do.
Oh, you do,
I
sorry.
do. But I'm just saying, we didn't get a copy of the latest
Right,
the annual tree and garden board plan, I guess is what it's called.
yeah.
And we had made some recommendations.
We
Pat
had
was here.
had some changes.
We made some recommendations, I don't think it's in here.
In the packet that you have, I believe it starts on page 3.
The tree garden board,
Your comprehensive tree plan follow-up.
These are plantings that are additional, that are supposed for other land.
are you talking about in our packet, we have the,
I believe so, let me bring it up.
I see your
It's
presentation
referred to. But I don't.
For your
think we got the plan
proposal.
itself, did we?
We talked about putting,
Page 3, is it?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
So, want to make one thing clear, as they did for the other festival that we had prior to Catfish, there will be vehicles, and I just want to make it clear, not parking, but there will be some access bringing things in and out. They will utilize the sidewalk sections and be outside of the tree drip lines, just like they did for the Soul Food Fest. I was there, I watched it the whole time. People won't be parking long-term in the park or on the route sections. And we've discussed it, we've shown them, and they're on board with that, and anything is to be less intrusive as much as it can be.
Sounds like a vast improvement.
So just want to make that clear. There will be some vehicles for a short period of time getting things in, but they'll be off, and they're not going to be in the routes.
Now, I seem to have skipped something called plantings for Everland Park, which Jean,
right, we didn't get a copy of our, tree garden board plan where we had discussed some plantings for Eagle Eye Park. We made some suggestions, we wanted to move forward, especially with that steep bank area on Summit. It's on the, I'm getting my east and west backwards. for some
It's on the
reason.
east side.
East side.
East side of the park.
Right, where it's a
Was that
slope
part,
and
was
it's.
that part of the master plan? the tree
I
park
swear
plan?
it was, but we don't have a copy of that. for
Yeah,
us
I'll
look
have to
at,
get
so.
with the clerk and find out, go back to the minutes, I'll find that and we'll get back. I vaguely remember us having the discussion, but no decision was, I don't believe the decision was made on that, because that's within, there's money portion to that.
Right, I thought we had added some things to the plan, but that was months
I
ago.
believe there was things added in that tree garden plan on wishes, what we recommendations, but nothing was set in stone for us like to march forward. Again, that's one of those things, we can put things in the budget to discuss with the commission, but anything that we plan, we have to properly, especially if it's not something that's gonna hold up.
Yeah, it
With
was,
the heat, we're gonna have to irrigate it.
yeah,
we're
it
gonna-
would be native, we talked about native sunshine mimosa.
Correct. I will definitely follow up with that and report back to you all, on our next meeting. And it's something that I need to put in my, budget notes for when we're getting into our budgets for next year.
And I just remembered one of the irrigation locations, and I think you discussed the medians. That was one of my,
Oh, okay, so right now, we had a discussion that was really hot to trot. It started, we had DOT out here, as you know, they fixed a lot of the, we've got them to fix a lot of those cracked curb inlets on
Right.
Summit. That same team met with us about redoing some of the plans. We had talked to them about taking all of the stuff that's kind of scrubby out of there.
Grass.
And, right, correct, and doing all peanut
Mhm.
and redoing the plantings and the irrigation, they've kind of stalled on the DOT side. I recently just asked Public Works to re-engage them to see where they're at and what we're gonna do with that. Especially before the summer really starts hitting, I'd like to have the DOT out here to do that and get that done.
Because the irrigation, we're in the part of it, I don't remember if it was in the peanuts or, it's the drip or the, in the ground, and if it gets run over with the mower or the string trimmer, it's all busted up,
Loses
sitting out there in
pressure.
this hot sun,
Right.
it's not,
And there's a lot of it exposed, and they know
Right.
that, they're going back, and, like I said, we have to re-engage.
Mhm.
It's gone very cold.
So, okay, so that's in the works.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Um,
And just so you know, that's a part of an overall larger
Mhm.
aspect, we're getting our historic signs redone. And so the signage, the plants, the irrigation, it's all part of a larger plan.
So the mulch, sorry, I'm taking away from
No, what?
your seat, but I just
what-
had a question about the mulch, because the next one where we passed up the Eveline Park. We're not gonna do it at Heritage
Are you?
Sunrise either. So I'm not,
No, so I know we did that one, I was going down to your planted area.
okay, but I was just asking him about Sunrise Park, we're not gonna get mulch there either.
No.
No,
Not this time.
and they're gonna continue to park under the tree.
Sunrise, which,
I don't know the lady's name, but it's the one over here with the boat ramp, over by the water.
eat the Margaret Nelson.
Yeah, that must be, yeah, they used to call it Sunrise, it's still in there.
And so right when you go into the gate, to the right hand
Yes,
side.
yeah. Ron had
We,
discussed
we,
that.
we have talked about a couple of things there.
Mhm.
It's in the back of my mind, it's there. I know I've seen some vehicles in there before. Depending on what the commission decides, we may end up putting in along the drive there, just putting in railroad ties so people can't drive in there.
I like that idea.
Yes, and that is also still in the works, by the way. So, you know,
Waiting for budget.
it's budget, it's just addressing it, and it's manpower. I mean, I just had a meeting today with my public works director, he's still down one person, but they're overwhelmed with the amount of work that I've given them. I've given them a lot of work to do, and we just don't have enough time to do it, and I have more to give them. I mean, there's so much to do. But we're doing our best, and he's doing his best.
You were talking about Nelson Park.
Yes. Margaret?
You're talking about
Margaret.
parking on the grass there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sign up there that says, cars, trailers and boat trailers parking only. If you went over and want to sit in that gazebo and have lunch, you can't park your car. There's not parking there. It says, do not park your car, just the trailer. And there isn't one garbage can there, because I was there the other day, and the garbage is the cigarette butts, beer cans.
We've cleaned it all up, we've actually this week been doing a lot of work over that park.
Last week you did. I was there last week.
Oh, yeah, starting last week and going into this week, go look at it.
Last Saturday.
There's no moss on the fence line, the bollards are painted, new signs are getting put up. So we pressure washed that gazebo. I wanna pressure wash the roof, but we pressure wash the gazebo, we pressure wash the wood. I'm marking what needs to be replaced, and most likely I'll be out there replacing that wood myself. We just don't have the manpower, so I'm gonna go and work on it. But I think right there by the bathroom, there is a rock section that has some bollards, and that is overflow parking if you have just vehicles. The rest of it, I haven't looked at that particular sign, but where we're talking about with that tree, I think forcing people to continue going down the drive would be better than the right-hand side there. And I think there needs to be some top fill and then some either grass seed or bahia, something put in there, because it's rutted up over time with cars going in and out. It will be addressed. I just need more time.
Where is that?
It's very popular.
Bathroom is right after, on the right-hand side, right after the big shed. As you're going in the drive there, it's on the right-hand side, right after the shed. We have a public comment.
Hi, Lisa DeVito. I very much appreciate that the issue of mulch for the Heritage at Sunrise Park is on the agenda. For several years, there's a circle around that tree that's dirt. There's deep trenching there. And from my observation, that's caused by city heavy vehicles. The city vehicles drive in and park right under the tree, and then they circle the tree. That, I don't think it's caused by boaters or people going to the gazebo. And I don't think it would take very much mulch to fill that in, especially if mulch is available for free. But, and there's a grassy area between the tree and the fence. Somebody else has pointed out to me that if city vehicles need a place to park, they can park on the grassy area that's not within the drip line of the tree. But from what I have seen over the years, that particular, area under drip line has been damaged by city-owned vehicles. So my request to the city manager would be to please do something about that.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To be proactive, I realize that city, both funds and personnel are very limited, so I think there's potentially ways that we may be able to think outside the box to get those trees wood chipped. So my thought would be the under Florida statute 570.86, all city parks will fall under agritourism, which means there's no liabilities if someone is injured in one of those places, which means that we would potentially be able to, instead of having a city employee do the work that's city funded, if another person and or organization is willing to do the work, provide the labor, provide the wood chips, all they would need would be written permission from the city to go in and do those volunteer hours. So I'd like to propose that myself and another organization provide the wood chips necessary for a couple of those trees. We would help do the labor, provide the wood chips for that, but we would need to make sure that those parks are designated under 570.86 as agritourism.
Well, I would like to add that from what I understand, having mulch obviously deteriorates and has to be replaced, is not a substitute for prohibiting driving within.
Correct.
So there seems to be an impression that, if we could only have a little mulch and people put some effort into it, then the trees would be okay, and that's actually not true, I don't think. So I think mulch is probably healthy for any plant, I don't know. But in this case, it should be focused that the drilling and the driving are prohibited within the drip line rather than thinking mulch is gonna make it okay. Would you agree or not?
I think that's a great observation. I think that's a very true statement. I can only do so much as a city volunteer, but as far as the policies and procedures, that can be done internally. But I can provide a small step as long as there are other steps taken, for the prevention of driving.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is that would be phenomenal for you to help out and very appreciated by the city. It's something we can bring up to the commission to designate if that's what they wish to do in order for you to get that work done. I think in the interim, as well, we can afford some railroad ties and some signs that says no vehicle beyond this point or no parking or, whatever we want, and we'll figure that out. It's a team effort. I think all the above, recommendations are worth looking into and getting done.
Do we need a motion for those recommendations?
Is there a
Motion
motion?
for him to proceed?
Well, if you would like me to take it to the commission for approval for
Agritourism.
right, and we'll work on getting that on the agenda, and he can come and speak to that effect. There's other things today that we're gonna talk about that we want your recommendation on, so he can come to the commission meeting on April, and we can get a decision from them on, so.
Do we want to make a motion?
So you wanna make a motion,
to that?
Rhonda?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that they take those recommendations to the commission.
Second?
I'll second.
Then are we going down to?
Thank you, Chris.
You'll need to do a vote, all in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It has passed.
Thank you.
Now, I think we're down to planted area on Summit Avenue in front of Crescent. Does that mean the one over?
This one out here, yeah, that was
That's
my
a little-
concern. There's a lot of dead stuff.
With the one over here, or the one?
This one right out here, the Robolini palms history. It's right
Oh, this right here?
The Croquis history.
Yeah, we got hit so hard, and we tried to cover them, but because of the wind, it ripped everything we did, and we came out twice, 3, 4 times and tried to fix it, and
Yeah, there's no way.
we could have
There's no way to
went.
protect from that.
We have right now 15 bags of mulch from Ace sitting there waiting. I had started that. Actually, the mayor and myself went out and started on the south, on the north end, little planter area, and got that in, and then we started working our way down. and we just, we're both busy.
Right,
We
it's
try to
not,
get to
it's
it.
ugly bad,
It
there's
is.
at least 8 or 9 different
Yes.
plants in there, can we start over?
We're gonna start over, and I was actually gonna ask Chris to see if he could help me come up with an idea, and then we can get it
But
done.
you had mentioned that planter may be coming out, the sign thing, or
So-
maybe not.
That planter most likely will come out.
But not.
It's not needed, well, pretty soon, I ordered, and I'm waiting, and I should have it by next week. But we ordered a new screen, double-sided screen for the city communication board. And with the size, it's gonna be bigger than what we have right now, we're probably gonna elevate it a little bit up, but I think having that clear and not having plants grow up and all that, we don't need it, so we're gonna take that out. And we'll focus on putting things in there that'll look beautiful, that are as close as maintenance-free as possible,
Right.
but that look classy and make the city
And
shine.
then, so that would need to be irrigated in the beginning.
And it is irrigated, it already is irrigated. The other thing that we're gonna be doing now that it's springtime, I think I had talked to Chris about this a while back, we looked at buildings, is doing hibiscus along the edge that has nothing right there along the annex, and just kind of
On the
beautifying
front,
on this side of the annex building, so it'd be on the south end.
okay,
It wraps all the way around, there's a planter base wraps all the way around, we're gonna do something. I've got a little money in the budget,
Crushed in.
yeah, we're gonna do something.
And there's a dead tree, it's been dead for years, and we get rid of the dead tree.
As
You
long
know
as,
which one's dead? Can we figure out?
we're gonna take a look when we get out
Okay,
of here.
I asked you if I could take the stakes out of Craig Myrtle's, and they were in there for years.
Okay,
So, and there's some things that are weeds that are this tall. Yeah, in front of the annex there.
right,
Those are weeds.
I'll be happy to walk over there with you
Okay,
and
I'm
get a
just saying mulch.
recommendation.
Mulch doesn't, I mean, we want mulch, because I want mulch under the trees, but then mulch,
Sure,
around weeds.
sure.
It's the weeds.
Are we gonna clear it and redo it?
It is a dead tree.
We can,
I mean,
Because it's scruffy.
well, some of those grasses, once they get weeds in them, just pull them out and start over, because you'd have to dig them up, separate them. I mean, Chris is familiar, everybody.
I think, this is one thing that, everybody's different, has, different talents and, one thing that my predecessor worked on in his private time outside as a de-stressor was gardening and doing a lot of the plantings and different things. I haven't got to that point yet. I love it and I can do it, but I have
It's
not,
expected of you.
I have not gotten
It's
to that
really
point
not.
yet,
It's
so.
really not.
We'll try our best to get it fixed. Again, that just all goes back down to, manpower and budget. And everything here is manpower and budget. Right now, I've got guys mowing lawns, cleaning streets, cleaning parks, painting, doing different things all around town. I only have 4 public works guys right now. Who am I pulling off of that to come and do the planters over here? My public works director is super spread thin. We have a large multi-million dollar, multi-year level project that just started, that's kicking off for water distribution for North Tower. I just don't have the manpower. So I don't mind on the weekend coming and doing, I just need some direction and would love anybody who wants to volunteer time too to come and help rip it out. I can get the trucks, I can get the tools, I just need help, so.
I would like to make a personal remark on that. I don't think that you really need to go do landscaping yourself.
Oh, Mike,
The previous.
Mike,
My,
It seems that if you put some, planning to it, I think you are horticulturist. You could come up with some attractive plants that don't need, a lot of care, right? And that's what most cities do.
The Zetas look pretty decent in there, they got
Yeah.
established, but,
Yeah.
Zetas?
Yeah.
But there's only one time a year.
I know, that's it,
Yeah.
and they're a lot.
I would
The
love,
rest of the bed is,
I would love something that, doesn't need a lot of maintenance, but people come by and go, wow, that's clean, that's really pretty. We can find that.
this is the first impression of
It
our
is.
town.
It is.
Something that looks Florida-ish too, makes it look a little tropical.
Yeah.
Is that what?
That was all
That's what that.
All my beeps for today.
You're good. Chris and I will work on that. There's one person, I know Gene, we've worked together on trees and have gone places, and Chris and I worked on a couple different projects and different, ideas kicking around. He knows a lot of stuff. You guys tasked him earlier to help us out with with our tree grant stuff, and that worked out very well. And so, we'll continue that relationship and doing some things that'll make y'all happy, and the commission happy, of course, and the residents happy.
I would like to put a pitch in for the cycads, because there's my favorite.
I'm sure he likes them as well.
They are restored,
They're easy,
beautiful.
they're still green.
They need some trimming usually, but they are unique and tropical looking and exotic, and they flourish here, including the kuntis, which are low and grow very well. Shall we move on to new business? Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Triad pots and hanging plants.
Chris, if you'd like to come up and talk about that, and just, I'll lead you in on it. Chris and I worked together looking at what our needs were, again, trying to beautify our city, and especially our downtown, district where people are gonna be coming in, traveling to, and coming to our events that we have. Chris had worked to put together a maximum price estimate. We've also, this is for the triad pots, those larger pots. We're also gonna be speaking today about the folk plants for hanging baskets and the reason why we wanna go that way. I know that they may or may not be, loved, but at the same time, they can look really beautiful for a season, and we can change them out, periodically, and be within a good budget for that. Chris, if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let's start, if it's okay with the chair, with the faux plants for the hanging planters. So the thought process behind this, and I'm saying this both currently as someone who does regenerative agricultural design, but I also used to own one of the largest wedding venues in Kansas City. So I'm very familiar with quality silk flowers. So I want you to think along the lines not of a graveyard display, but something that is very beautiful, that's gonna be UV resistant, UV protected. Now, as an agriculturalist, when I was looking at the hanging planters, those are absolutely stunning and beautiful in a home setting or outside of a business where they're able to receive the care to support the money that was invested. The challenge in Crescent City, as we're all very aware, is our water quality has a lot of minerals, specifically iron, which causes an iron-feeding bacteria in the water lines that plugs those lines. So on lines that are that small, on those drip lines for the hanging pots, that's like every couple days, someone needs to go out and inspect those lines, which at this point, I don't feel from an agricultural perspective, that's a realistic expectation, that those lines are going to be checked. So an alternative to that is choosing some UV resistant, very high quality silk flowers. And I have a floral designer that's taken a look at all of this stuff that we could install in those, basically with 3 types of plants: a spiller, a filler, and a thriller is the 3 phrases that they use, with floral foam in the middle. And with the approval of the board, we'd like to be able to change, something out on those seasonally so they look different every couple months. So that way they stay fresh, they stay beautiful. If I can approach the podium, I do have a visual example that I can show you of one of the arches that we've done with the floral displays before, that you just change out a couple flowers, per season. It does look high quality. Are you okay if I approach the podium? So this is an example of an archway that has, a fall display with just a few things that are changed, for the winter. So the same major elements in the display can be something that is beautiful, that is elegant, but gives you a very different look, per season. I think it's important for us to allocate our resources appropriately and know the areas. Go back to the mic.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's appropriate, to quote the University of Florida when they said we want the right plant in the right place. And I think in this particular place, the right plant is a beautiful faux silk plant that can be interchanged, that's gonna be a little bit easier to maintain. because for an average volunteer like myself, I'm not gonna climb up 17 feet on a ladder, to volunteer, that goes over OSHA laws. So for me as a volunteer, realistically, I can manage, 3 triads of plants that are on the ground level, volunteering in parks and that sort of thing. So I think if we kind of separate those two potentially in our mind of, here's the hanging ones, maybe the best and most beautiful solution, and then the triad of planters, what is the most beautiful solution for those? So I'd like to open it back up to questions on the faux flowers and the hanging pots.
So as you quoted here, it was almost $600.
Correct.
Is that for one season?
That is for one season, however, we would only be changing out the line item that says central pick. So it would be $50.94 per season that we would change out that one line item. And so that amount there, the $578.34, basically, if you're familiar with Hobby Lobby, that's their maximum price. Our hope is to be able to go to Hobby Lobby on a day where they have that good old half off.
30-40% off.
30-40% off and get a little bit lower. But I always like to overshoot on the budget. Here's the maximum, and then we do our duty to find some good deals.
So, sorry.
I think fake flowers are pretty good. I have quite a few myself. However, they're gonna be in the right sun, don't they, fade?
There are UV protected ones that you can get. We used them at our wedding venue, and then you can also purchase a $9 can of spray, and you can add another layer of UV protection on those.
So, as I understand it, the problem is maintenance for the hanging pots. Why do you need the hanging pots in the first place?
That was my next question.
I don't know, I wasn't here.
It was something that my predecessor did, Commissioner
Maybe we should undo it.
DeVito may be able to answer that better if she was here, but that was something I heard my predecessor did. There are more somewhere, I don't know where, but there are more hanging pots somewhere in the city. I've not been able to locate them yet, neither has my staff, but there were several ordered. The plan is, and I've gone, if you go to Charleston and other places, they have beautiful hanging pots on their historical lights. They have shade though. They have buildings and they have areas with shade, and their irrigation is set up in a way where those plants are live plants. The problem on our central is that those plants get beat up with sun all day long, 12 hours or more. So with the nanoparticle spray that he's talking about, it's an additive to UV protected material already. We could get some longevity out of the base portion of these plants and change out the central theme or the central picks of what it is based on season. And so we're looking at the cost being somewhere around $1,000 to maybe $1,200 per year for all of them if we were to expand to a couple more, but that's basically where we're at.
Personally, I disagreed with the former person adding them in the first place. So I am saying, from my point of view, the easy way to do it was just to not have them.
And I think, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am, but I believe that part of that is the look that is in our master plan. That is part of how, to make it more
Does it
attractive.
look like a wedding venue? Yes?
Mayor,
Yes, Ms. DeVito.
I've got to go talking to Mike. Thank you, President.
Hi, Lisa DeVito again. Someone asked about the history, I think the city manager said. I believe the hanging baskets were an initiative of either the CRA staff or the Main Street organization. They wanted them. My recollection is the Tree and Garden Board never really had much to do with it or said that it would work. I think there were doubts expressed from the beginning. Pat Langdon may remember, and I don't have recollection of whether they are specifically in the master plan. The master plan for downtown is more infrastructure. I don't know. We'd have to look at it. I couldn't say whether or not, and I'm thinking they're kind of small item for the master plan. But it was an initiative either with the CRA or the Main Street organization. And I don't even know what the Tree and Garden Board, I don't even know how much input this board had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the precedent would be to continue, but I would say perhaps this needs to rethink myself. What do you think?
Well, they've never had anything in them. I mean, we never discussed them. We don't, the containers, last year we discussed those, the live containers, which is his next thing.
Yeah.
That the downtown partnership would be responsible for that, because we're not a working group. We're an advisory group. It was initiated by someone, not the Tree Garden Board. It was the last city manager, I believe. And then the downtown partnership took over.
Right.
So several people volunteered and watered them, somebody moved away, then they got hit by the cold. So they spend a lot of time. They looked real good. Chris did them last year, right before the Catfish Festival, and they looked real good. And then there was no irrigation, nobody watered them. Now I guess that's all fixed. Thank you for that. But they still, there's maintenance, and I know you're gonna get into that, but this was never in our budget. I don't ever see that we put anything for that in our budget. And we're not,
You talking about hanging
the
baskets?
hanging and the trial and the other ones, yeah, none of that was
It's
in
a
our.
completely different situation.
Well, and there is a line item in the central CRA for that, for the beautifications, plantings, the wayfinding, all of that. So there, for plants.
For all of this,
Sure.
on this page,
Absolutely. All of that can be paid out of that line item.
I just would like to say, I like the idea of the hanging baskets. I think they would really, add to the aesthetic of Central Avenue. And I think the best way to go about it is the photo plants, as much as I normally hate photo plants, but still the practicality of it, especially if they're UV protected and don't look like wilted silk plants after 2 months. I think that's an excellent idea. I think we should recommend it.
They're probably what, 15 feet high, 12 feet high at least? I mean, they're high. We're gonna have to do some work to take those down and fill them, but, you know, people that are visiting, we have people that come fishing, we have people that come down for our events. That's why people come. They're driving, most of them. We don't have a lot of shopping right now, but I believe one day you're gonna have more shopping. But how do you get that? You get that by drawing people in and getting the attention. And when they're driving by, or they come and they're at the park and they're looking down here and they can see the beautiful plants, they're honestly not looking at them if they're real or if they're fake. They're just seeing something beautified that's really an extra, added salt to our meal here, you know?
So
So,
we come a long way from plastic plants, you know?
yeah.
our grandmother's
And
plastic.
they can look
Yes,
out.
they have, the stuff, I mean, some of the things out there, if you didn't know, you would have thought they were real. And so, and we're not trying to do anything super tropical or anything like that. Chris has said it's gonna be based on our area, based on Crescent City, and that's what we're looking to do.
Spanish moss.
Right. As a filler, actually, yes.
That's a filler, that's right.
And the reality is, we already have the pots, the hanging baskets as a resource. We might as well take care of the resource that we've already invested in. Whether or not we should have invested in them or not, we have them. They're here, they're available with a little bit of work and volunteer hours. I think we can make them beautiful. And at the end of the day, if the budget is there, the volunteer hours are there, we're not out anything. We've done the best that we can to take care of a resource that the city already has.
And, it's just, this season, we're making it nice, we have a lot of events coming up this year, starting next week, and it's gonna be boom, 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 boom. We can get these streets filled with some beautiful flowers and planters, and people will really enjoy them and see the beauty. It'll be added beauty to our city, so, and if it doesn't work, and the faux, we take them down, we haven't put too much into them.
They're only gonna be on Central.
Only on Central,
Yeah, there's 6 baskets.
yeah, only on Central.
Does there need to be a motion to approve that, or
Well,
no?
it's not coming out of our budget, right, because we don't
It's out
have,
of the CRA.
No,
It
it's,
doesn't come out of ours.
no, there's no,
we don't have any.
you don't have a budget.
We're just talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Are we ready to talk about the triads of plants?
Yes.
The potted plants? So these are the 3 triads of pots that are on the ground level that we redid last year with the help of Angel Duke and also Tim with the Downtown Partnership. Obviously, we had the largest freeze in 40 years across the state of Florida, which pretty much wiped out everything.
Yes.
So we do need to refresh those in a timely way. As with the previous example, the maximum total that's listed there, we will not exceed that. Hopefully, we will come in under those. My goal with designing these 3 triads is to stay within a great color scheme. I love the Crescent City, the old logo, I think is very beautiful, very appropriate with the white, the blue, the orange and yellow. So I want to stay within that color scheme and stay thematic as a city. I also think it's very appropriate with the red and the yellow because it's Crescent City High School colors. So staying within, that the pride of our town, I think is very appropriate. The trees that I've selected there are ones that I feel like represent our town. So for example, Yalpon Holly with one of the larger agricultural companies in town, the Yalpon brothers, being able to say, hey, this is a big part of who we are now. When we look back at the citrus industry, it's easy to add in some of those nice dwarf citrus that are appropriate for the different ethnic backgrounds that are here in town that represent them well. And so being able to do things like Calamund and Calamunsi or Kumquat, that are very appealing to the different groups that are within our town. And then focusing more this time around on natives that are gonna be very cold hardy and cold tolerant. So if and when, God forbid, we do get another frost or a freeze, that these will hopefully rebound in a much better way than some of the annuals will. So the total cost on this would be $494.67, and this again, correct me, sir, comes out of the CRA budget, not out of a tree and garden board budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have a budget, just an advisory board, but it'll come out of our budget and we, also too, I don't know, all of you were here except for Ms. Sutton. We had an incident with a tree that was cut. We received funds that were not planned for, and so the city has some of those funds that can be utilized for plantings and other things. I'll see about if some of those funds can be utilized properly.
Can we use those
Yeah.
out here?
Yeah, we can,
Or
and even
over
for
there?
the planning, but we do have it now.
Okay.
The city has other needs though, too,
Uh-huh.
to take precedent over the planting. With that being said though, we have a budget for plants in our CRA for the central, and that's where we're gonna be using this from.
Sounds like a very nice choice of plants.
You did a great job on that, appreciate it.
Are there any other questions about the faux plants hanging baskets or the triads?
No,
Irrigation is in place, right?
Irrigation is in place, and I was with Derek when we inspected them, so they are working and functioning now. And then all of the maintenance and weeding and that sort of thing, I do myself.
What do you know about fertilization?
I do that myself. I use an organic fertilizer called Plant Tone by Espoma Organics. I'm a big organic nerd, so I don't do any chemicals or pesticides, especially if we're choosing things like Calamunsi or Calamunden that people are gonna pick and enjoy. We want it to be good and healthy for the community.
does that also take effect along Stella, the organic point of view?
Along Stella for
The trees, you mean, the new trees or?
The foliage, because there was a lot of toxicity created along Stella in the past.
Yeah, the only thing that I can speak to are the native trees that we did plant along there and the native choices that we did along Lake Stella as well as the other parks. They actually don't need or appreciate the fertilization. Native trees, for whatever reason, love horrible Florida sand, so they thrive in that. So that was our goal with those trees, is as little work as possible. So we don't even fertilize those trees at all.
And I would like to update, if I can, real quick, the board on that, since that was brought up just now, on those trees that were planted. I met with our forester, Jesse Frazier, this week. We did a full drive-through of all of the trees, and I'm happy to let you all know and report that every single one of the trees are alive, doing well, in good health, and we also passed the entire inspection. So we are now moving forward to the next process to get that money back. That was step one. now the paperwork gets submitted with that, with photos, and we have to do some other things with PDN. And we're on our way to get reimbursed, so, hats off to Chris for his help in the very beginning and helping us out. We mapped this out, staffed it out with Chris and myself, made sure that these trees were not gonna be in any way, shape or form in the way of a utility, underground or overhead. And also Chris helped us out with the plantings on the first few, and then we had our new employee, Matt McNamara, planted basically with the help, I believe, of one other person, all of the trees, and did a very good job. We recently just tied them down properly, staked them, which was all checked by the forester, and all that was done correct. They are still bagged and still getting water, and they're gonna do so until about the middle of May, or when we get into our wet season, maybe the end of May, getting into June. So that's what I have.
What I think I was remembering was the
Ms. Alexa,
herbicides,
please speak up.
the herbicides that were used to kill the plants and stuff.
I don't think he was involved in that.
Yeah, but I'm new organic.
And he wasn't here.
No, and I can tell you, we are inspected, and we just had an inspection with the state. You know, there's certain regulations and law that we have to abide by, of course, and those things are not utilized if they're not environmentally friendly. If they were done in the past, they were done under different circumstances that won't happen again.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Should I just stay and?
You're gonna stay.
When's your next?
Next
Stick around.
thing is
yeah.
Mary Banks.
Harry Banks Park, and I will apologize in advance for page 10 through 33. I was a teacher for 17 years, so more information I think is always good for you to take home and look at, especially for those of you that really enjoy looking at the exact species and the taxonomy of each of the individual plants. But I'd like to share with you today a little bit about a project that Derek and I have been working on for Harry Banks Park that I think is a very timely and appropriate project. I had the honor 2 weeks ago, I believe, to go with the St. Johns River Audubon Society on a bird watching extravaganza around Lake Stella and some of the other local areas. And it was such an enjoyable experience. I feel like that opportunity for education is one that we could continue to develop as a city, especially as a tree and garden board, and also recognizing that our local grocery store is about to close and change, you know, the way that it looks. I think practically it's a really great time for us to start teaching people how do you grow your own food. The reality is we live in an area that's considered a food desert where people don't have access to organic food, fruits, vegetables, and now, you know, a grocery store that is easily and readily available. So teaching these families allow us to be able to help the community in a way that thinks outside of the box a little bit. So if you would do me a favor and turn to page 10 of your packet, I just want to hit on a couple of highlights of this project for Harry Banks Park. As an overarching picture for you, our goal would be to take Harry Banks Park, which is very much a crossroads, I feel like, in our community. There's a lot of different demographics that gather in that area that I think would really be able to benefit from a project as this. So I want you to imagine going into a city park where the things that you see are edible, they're medicinal, they're educational. There's little signs with QR codes that you can scan with your phone and get a video about that plant or the things that are being grown there. This plan was developed in mind with the ARB-net that we talked about under old business of how do we find a way as a community to educate people, to volunteer, to have labeled plants and taxonomy and species, provide native wildlife habitat, and be able to help the community at large in a very similar way. So under goals and objectives, we want to create a functional landscape of a space that is currently unutilized, provide a way for people to actually taste food that can be grown locally, excuse me, facilitate community learning through different QR codes, improve water edges because there is a retention pond that is there that I think is a great location for us bird nerds because there are no boats, there's nothing being sprayed there. It's a very unutilized retention pond that I think could be a great wildlife habitat. And then installing plant edges that create a nice microclimate within the park. For the safety of this, again, because I was a teacher, I'm always thinking about kid safety, community safety. We don't want to have crazy, weird, dark corners, where shady things can gather. So by fixing the existing streetlights and then utilizing that space as an agroforestry or an agro-tourism system, it falls under that Florida statute that prevents the city from being sued if someone hurts themselves clipping a tree. So there's not legalities and liabilities for us because it falls under an educational agro-tourism site, teaching people how to grow their own food. Under the section, under stewardship, I'll be volunteering to do all of the designing and facilitating along with the initial installation. We're already doing monthly classes at the Downtown Partnership, which we've had anywhere from 10 people show up to 45. Last month, the class that we posted had 15,000 views on YouTube that watched a part of that class. There's no metric for me to track where they're from, but that video on what we can grow in our area had 15,000 different views on it. I'd like to be doing monthly work days that we could coordinate together and potentially quarterly harvest days as part of the stewardship of this project. As far as the monthly work days, our goal would be to connect with several community organizations. For example, these have no commitments: Rotary Club, Women's Club, the local school garden at Crescent City High School, to see if one day a year they can come in and volunteer for a couple hours, where we let them pick, we let them eat. I'm a certified educator, I've had the background check, so I'm able to work with the school districts where they can bring in students from the school, they can bring in homeschool groups or church groups to be able to learn and grow together on that project. So the reason for saying that is all of the maintenance does not come down to a city employee, it does not fall on my shoulders. It's one day, once a year for different clubs or organizations to be a part. And I think we can find 12. I have 6 already that have given verbal commitments that they would love to volunteer their organization one day per year. We did outline under project details some of the cost. Derek mentioned because of a tree mishaps on one of the tree trimmings that there is some city investment that can come into this, but most of the initial installation, the donation of trees and that sort of thing is all outlined and covered in the process. Pages 12 through 33 give you the really long, detailed, nerdy explanation of every single plant, the uses that it has, the maintenance, and that sort of thing as well.
If I may add something as well. So what I'm asking and what I need from this board is some direction with this or recommendation to bring this to the commission. What I also want to do though is, before we bring it to the commission, is that I'd like to look at some alternative areas as well. Harry Banks, as it sits, is a prime and good location for what we discussed, but there are also other locations that may benefit and be more suited for that at this point in time. So I definitely want to take a look at that before we bring it to the commission, but I would like to bring it to the commission if that's something that the board would like me to do by this next April 9th meeting, which is 2 weeks from today.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yes.
Does anyone
I
want to
have a
add?
comment to make, I'm going to.
Absolutely.
Because I've been asking for stuff and now this is our backyard. We haven't done anything in our front yard, if that makes sense.
My God.
Does that make sense? Sorry, I can't take glasses off so I can see people.
Can I respond?
You can.
I feel like I'm a both and person. I totally agree with you. I think the front yard is a big deal, and that was why Derek and I talked about, let's do the hanging baskets because they're hideous. Let's fix the triads of, flowers. Let's tackle, as you guys were discussing, this area over here. I think doing those first before catfish, God willing,
Wow.
would be, I think it's very doable. I've allocated my resources and time next week to be able to accomplish those goals. I don't think this area is realistic, but I think the hanging baskets and the triads is very doable with your approval. The area out front, it would be great to have that done before the spring fling stuff that the Downtown Partnership does. The park project would be after, I agree with you, after these other things have been managed and done. I'm a big proponent of let's take care of what we have first before we add anything new. And I think we can really accomplish both of your concerns.
I have a little concern about that being the runoff going down into there and edibles.
The edibles will be further up on the embankment, so there won't be any irrigation coming from the pond. What would be down by the pond would be actually, I have a list of 17 different species that are water purifying plants that are all natives, that re-oxygenate the water, that bind up toxins and materials. So it's kind of a project to do the food up top where there's no contamination, and then down by the water, we focus on water purifying and ecosystem plants to provide wildlife habitat and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think on the plantings, my only objection, just because I've had dealings with them and I've seen them, and I've also heard from people's concerns, probably just the banana trees, because how messy they can get, especially in the winter, and if they're not cut back right, they just kind of create a.
I know a maintenance guy that loves to cut them back.
To the ground every year, right?
Yeah, and because I think, composting is part of the successful system. And so doing a compost pile where we maintain a lot of those things is very, very easy and very doable. And I think it's important for us to model as a city, here's what proper maintenance looks like,
Bananas also love their own leaves as mulch.
They do.
So,
I think if you go around town, you'll find, Steve's right, a lot of plants that do well here, just by looking. My area has guava and persimmons that do well here. Citrus, no, definitely.
Yeah, we're not doing much citrus. Mainly we'll be focusing on things that are very tolerant, the mulberry species. I have 38 varieties of mulberries, so we're gonna be doing a lot of mulberries there because they're very easy for kids. Low plots that are indestructible like tanks, So we'll be doing a lot of things that are very easy. You did? Oh, no. I blame the neighbors.
And I grew from seed, I was crushed.
There's two things.
Are there any plans for nut trees on the commons?
I veered away from some of the nut trees primarily because if it's an educational site, nut allergies are so common with kids these days that it's easier to veer away from some of the things that people have nut allergies to. That was my only reason that I veered away from it. I was very tempted to add those in, but I think there's other places in the city we could add those in, but probably a park with play equipment, we need to keep that away from there.
There's two things that I would like to say. One is the lights, plants do not like at night. And they put some really high intensity lights in that park for some reason. But also the red spectrum is much friendlier than the blue.
Yes.
And the blue is throughout the town, the red is much more.
Is that on when they have games or is it always on?
They're not aimed at the gardening area, so they're aimed at the baseball area and the soccer fields. There are light posts that are in the park itself, but those fixtures are broken, so I think it would just be a matter of we choose an appropriate light spectrum. And really, you're right, they don't need to be on all night long, it's not a prison for them.
Plants certainly won't like that.
And especially as a wildlife habitat, the native songbirds and pollinators, they need that downtime in the cycle.
I'm glad I don't live next to where those lights. Also, there is a very viable agriculture program at the high school.
I
So,
heard that.
and in fact, they are participating in the fair this week. So ownership helps maintenance and also interest.
Yeah.
And some of those kids live there. So I would suggest you contact
Yes, ma'am.
the agriculture. I think they might have two teachers, I know that.
I think they have two. I know Angel Duke was a part of an initial peacock garden, I think she called it, that they had installed there. Angel Duke.
Yeah, she's my neighbor.
So I believe she was a part of some kind of a garden that they had there.
No, I'm not talking about a garden, I'm talking about an actual agriculture program that they have.
Yes, I believe she worked with the teacher or teachers that are a part of that. But if you have a contact, I'd love to be in touch with them if you know of a contact for that.
I think you just have to
Call
talk to
the
the principal.
Yes, ma'am, I can do that.
I think one thing too that has to be, my job is to bring all the facts to the commission and let them know the ins and outs of every option they've got. And one of the things that I know that they're gonna ask that we're gonna have to work on, I just wanna put on the record, is that some of these types of investments and things sound really good and they can be very good. But unless you really have public buy-in and really get these other entities to come in and volunteer time, they die off. And they die off, after you've put in the time. So that's definitely something that we're gonna have to address on how we're going to bring those people in, get them trained up on things, what the expectation is year 1, year 2. And I know you put a lot of that together, but I just want you to know, be ready for those kind of questions, because if you go around even where I'm from, Atlantic Beach, they did a garden at City Hall. There was volunteers, it was great. And the first year was awesome. They even had a compost. Well, you go a year later, nobody was taking care of the compost. It was, the people were just throwing stuff in there. Nobody was doing the plants. The plants were run wild, half were dead, and you had one person at City Hall just going out there trying to do
That's you, right?
what they liked, so I wanna make sure whatever we do, we have that in place and we're ready to answer those
Yes,
questions.
sir. I think as far as the organization involvement, my goal would be that if I disappeared tomorrow, that it's still able to happen, through those 12 different organizations. As far as what to do in the garden, that's already done. So every month I publish a gardening to-do list with everything you plant, you transplant, you prune, when you turn the compost pile. So that's at permaculturefx.com. So literally, if I were to disappear tomorrow, someone could print that to-do list, walk into that forest with pictures, images, and sample videos, and they could pick up without any knowledge whatsoever. So I think we're equipped to answer that question.
Thank you, sir.
My point is, the kids do live in that area. So if you could have them buy into the plan and actually participate, not once a year, but have something that they're growing, then you might have somebody.
And that was our idea from the get, was to really bring the community together. It's all about community.
And the nice thing is, as you know, as gardeners, when you're pruning those mulberry trees, sending kids home with fruit and sending them home with cuttings, so they can go plant this in their backyard. They can take some of that garden home, to their backyard, so that way it gets buy-in. One of the things I found as a teacher, the kids never want to eat a tomato unless they grew it. If they grew that tomato, that's the only tomato they're ever going to eat. And I think you're right. I think if we want to impact that community, focusing on those kids is definitely the way to go.
I'd like to say one more thing about Bates Park. When I first moved here, it didn't have a fence around the water. It had a lot of trees, and I went over there to look at a lot of things. And a cute kid wanted me to see the tree that he played in, which got cut down because they took everything out. So the kids do like to play there, and part of your program, I think, should be to have something for them to be engaged in, not just a lesson. Something they can hold and own.
Yes, sir.
Also, that pond, used to be the dump. They used to back on the dump truck up and pour it into the hole. So it's not a good water. I don't know what's going on in there, but it has.
It said it was a sinkhole.
Yeah.
It's a sinkhole. Skip Miller has talked about
Yeah.
it being a sinkhole. They used to, when he was a kid, refrigerators would disappear.
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
He even referred to, there's probably bodies out there.
Yeah.
Where is this at?
Pop-ups.
Yeah.
The
Retention
retention
pond.
pond and Harry Banks
People
Park.
who live there know this, so you have to be aware of
And as someone who I do regenerative agriculture, we do what's called bioremediation. So I work with a company called SCD Probiotics. They're based out of Kansas City. They do research with several universities in Japan and have multiple published works. And so one of the products that we use is called ProBio. It's a mother culture of probiotics with 21 different probiotics that are all grown together in one mother culture. And they have studies proven that when that's added to gasoline, to oil, to different types of toxic waste, that's able to actually eat up that material. The probiotics actually eat the toxins, and so that is something that I integrate into every system that I do. So knowing what the pond has been, I think we can transfer that into something that is actually useful by integrating some of those bioremediation-based probiotics back into that pond and reclaim, that area.
probiotics and bacteria. You probably have some pretty good ones right there now.
Yeah.
Examples. They've been eating.
Yeah. And we'll find out what they are. I'm a science nerd, so I'll be pulling the microscopes out and getting out all the slides for sure.
One thing that we're gonna have to answer to and be careful with is are the berry plantings, just because of the possibility of rodents and stuff like that. That's something that we're gonna have to address, maybe through traps or other things,
One of the plants that's in the plan is called Panadol, it's called Plectranthus barbados Roth, is an anti-rodent plant. So it helps keep away rats, snakes, scorpions, mice, that sort of thing. So I have that in the plan, basically at the base of things like avocado or the berry trees,
Okay.
because the strong scent helps keep away the rodents.
Okay, perfect. It will be addressed or asked by members of the commission, so just be ready to answer those questions.
And the goal of this would be that people are eating all of this fruit and it's
And not
not falling on
dropping.
the ground.
There you go.
So that is our goal, is to feed the community. And if we start noticing fruit, we show up on a Saturday, open the gate and say, families come on in, pick.
The squirrels will eat all the food.
Yeah.
They eat all our things.
We can take some of our feral cats over there.
Oh my gosh. Compost, compost. Are there any other questions from the community?
No, that was great.
Thank you so much for your
I just want to take the time one more time to say thank you very much for all your work. You've volunteered a lot of time in this. I know you've called me on numerous occasions without me reaching out, gung ho, ready to act on different programs and do different things. So I just want to say thank you very much, and I appreciate your help and look forward to continuing our working relationship.
And is that okay?
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, thank you.
That organic.
I love the organic thing. Is that it?
That would be it.
Do we have a
Oh,
motion to?
I do need a motion recommendation to bring this with y'all's approval for Chris and I to bring this to the commission on April 9th.
Is there a motion to bring the report to the commission?
Well, I don't know, I would think we would want to make it with an exception that it doesn't get in front of other things that are waiting.
Well, those things are gonna happen, the things that we're trying, that's waiting, the beautification, taking care of, that's right now. I've already tasked staff that basically, I want the city shining by next week, because starting next week is the start of a lot of events. I want the city looking its best that it's ever looked. So that is my drive, that is what we're trying to do. These baskets, the planters, city hall, we can do it. Chris and I will work together. I will get out there and you guys will see me with a big old hat on and I'll work in that bed and get it done.
And you're invited to join
And you're invited to join in and help.
Let us know, because I have a big hat too. but,
Yeah. So we will get the things that need to get done first. This needs to go in front of the commission though for approval to start the process for that.
Did you not say you had some alternative suggestions for locations?
And we're gonna work on that, and that would be part of your motion, that we bring some alternative locations to them as well. This is just a master plan. This is an idea to bring the community together and to fill in what we would consider a food desert, to bring children in, families, teach them how to garden. It doesn't have to be at Harry Banks. We have a lot of other areas in town, and ultimately, it's gonna be up to the commission to decide if that's something they wanna do, and I want the green light from you all to bring it. We were gonna bring this, in the last commission meeting, and I took it off because we hadn't talked to y'all. And that was because we were missing somebody, then we got somebody, and we're still now down one person, but we want the board to be in on this and make the recommendation.
Is there a motion to?
I move that we send this to the commission, we recommend that it be approved with Derek's added locations,
Okay,
that it be brought before the commission.
A second?
You have a second? I guess
No,
Tricia's
I
there,
don't
right?
have a second. I
someone else has
second
to have a
yours.
second.
Am I allowed?
I don't
She
believe
allowed
the
a second?
chair- I don't think the chair
I
can.
don't think so.
Well, then I will do it. I second.
I guess, yeah, and all ayes,
Aye.
all nays? It is passed.
All right, great.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. Next would be, a motion to adjourn.
I have one thing I want to ask for. The tree that was removed, there was a tree removed someplace, I saw it, I had a hissy fit. What was it?
Oh,
Women's Club? Or somewhere on one of the streets. A big tree.
and where was it?
Oh, I can't remember. Was it the Women's Club?
I don't know, a tree coming down.
Okay.
Must have, was it for the bank? No?
Madam Chair, it is public comment time. Before we do adjourn, we do need to have public comment.
Public comments? Ms. Anita?
I was hoping the city manager would be here. Lisa DeVito, 108 South Main Street. At a prior meeting, I have a couple of items. At a prior meeting, Ms. Langen had mentioned a company that was soliciting, going door to door, soliciting business for tree work. And that happened to me the other day. I was in my front yard doing yard work and picking up trash. And a company called Tree Alliance USA, guy was going door to door and he handed out this card. I just have 5 copies. I'll give one to the clerk at the end. Is that okay? Madam Clerk, okay. So,
Are you
May I?
endorsing them?
Pardon?
Are you endorsing this company?
No,
Warning us?
no, I'll explain.
so the reason I'm handing this out is because Pat Langen brought up a similar issue at a prior meeting. I don't know, Jean, do you remember about people going door to door and advertising tree work? And the concern is that we don't know who they are, they may not be qualified, and I believe the staff at the time said something about the city doesn't regulate that, the state does. Well, I was pretty sure that was not accurate. It's my understanding the state doesn't regulate people who cut trees whatsoever. There's no Department of Business and Professional Regulation licensure for tree cutting. And this is something I'm just making y'all aware. I'm gonna ask the city manager to look into this. I looked at our city code and it looks as if someone doing business in the city should have a business tax license. The guy who handed this to me said he was licensed. But I said, you have a business tax license with the city, and he said he didn't think so, he was just a salesperson. And then secondly, there was a section in our code that requires people who go door to door to specifically have a door-to-door license. And hi, Mr. City Manager, I'm gonna give this to the clerk. I don't have that many copies, so I'm gonna give it to the clerk, but I'll just tell you what it is. I'm following up on an issue that Pat Langen raised in a meeting, and I'm on the same issue, aren't I? Ms. Langen? Pat? Am I talking about the same issue you were? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so a different company passed out a card to me. They were going door to door just this past week.
Cutting trees.
Yes, they're saying, and they say they're licensed and insured, and when Ms. Langen brought this up, I'm kind of repeating here, sorry, I'll try to go quickly. She brought this up before you got here, I think, or certainly there was a different staff member at the meeting, and they said, well, Crescent City doesn't have anything to do with this. The state licenses tree cutting. Well, I don't think that's true. I do not think the state licenses people to cut trees whatsoever. What I did find in our code is the requirement for a business tax license, and as well, unless it's been deemed unconstitutional, I believe we require people to have a peddler's license who are gonna go door to door, whether they're selling goods or services. And in the past, we've had problems with that, and sometimes we do for tree work or yard work because some people are legitimate and some people aren't. Or, for example, we've all read about people going door to door without licensure or peddler's licenses, saying, soliciting people, I'll do your roof, I'll do your driveway, and then, they're not legitimate. So what I told the tree board was, I think Ms. Langen had a good concern. I don't think we were told the right thing in the past. And I'm gonna forward this information to you.
Okay.
So that we can make sure that if I sent this person to City Hall, because I said, do you have a business tax license? And they said, well, I don't know, I'm just paid to hand out cards. So I said, please go to City Hall. So I would really, I think it's worth knowing because people have told me before, and I think I've heard others mention it, that some people come around going door to door telling you your palms need to be cut or whatever, and they don't know anything. So, and obviously we don't want people taking advantage of, and we don't want people's trees and shrubbery, mangled, just so someone can get paid when it's work that doesn't really need to be done. What was I gonna say? Oh, as well, the city website, I think it could use a little bit more information on the need for a tree permit and what it's for. I looked on the city website and there's just a copy of the state statute that gives an exception to the need for a tree permit. And I noticed in the minutes, there was a discussion in January about the need for a tree permit for removing a tree. When I look at our city code, if it's a heritage tree or a champion tree, there's the need for a permit to trim the tree. And there's nothing about that on the website. There's nothing about the city ordinance, the city requirements where you would get a permit. There's nothing about that. So there's not much to give people a heads up.
Okay.
So it seems like the information is incomplete and, might give the wrong impression. And then I was reading the minutes from January, because I guess there was no February meeting. I did note that Steve Dempsey's name was slightly misspelled. There was a P-S-E-Y, and he's a C-I-E. And also, I was not at that meeting, but I was very distressed to read that the minutes record that Steve said there was a disagreement about what to do with the Shumard oaks left over from Arbor Day that were brought by the state forester. I was not aware that there was a disagreement, so sorry about that. I think a couple of us approached the state forester and said, if there are trees left over, I said I would like to come get the Shumard oaks and see if the city will plant them. And apparently Steve had approached the state forester also. And at the end of the event, the state forester at 11 was ready to go. And Steve was there first. I was helping break down the tables from the event and secure some of the city property. So they were given to Steve. And I asked him about that later. And he gave me the Shumard oaks. I have since given him back 2 of them. One is coming to the city and one I have another place for, but I've talked to the city manager about it and I think he has a place for one. But anyway, hopefully it all worked out and I'm sorry if Steve felt there was a disagreement because I just ran into him at the Winn-Dixie and said, hey Steve, would you be willing to give back the Shumard oaks so that we could see if the city would plant them, and hopefully they'll all be well planted within the next month. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Steve, you wanna-
If you could give that to the clerk, thank you.
Yes.
Let me remind everybody, they get 3 minutes, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Steve Dempsey, 339. You were asking about the troughs, you were talking about putting something over here. When my wife and I took care of this, we planted, just went over to A's, got Russian mammoth sunflowers, and they reached the roof of the police station.
That's pretty cool.
And they look really cool, or the old police station. So that's just a suggestion. But it seems to me like this is the epicenter of Crescent City. I think it should start here. You know, I mean, this doesn't look good. I mean, the center section here, I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. You know, that's my opinion. That's where I start. And I believe that's completely wrong, Harry Banks Park. That's also my opinion. Anyway, thank you.
If you have any opinion on where it can go, I would glad to hear that as options.
My opinion is, that this is a tiny little town with 5 parks. That's too many parks that need to be, I'm hearing budget constraints, personnel constraints. It doesn't make any sense. My mind, which is logical, why are there all of these things that need to be taken care of? Adding something to it doesn't make any sense at all. None. Colbert Park is a drug park. Close it up. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Nobody says these things. My opinion. Anyway.
Steve. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dempsey. Yes?
Crescent, 1965 County Road 308, just wanted to give a potentially proactive solution to what Commissioner DeVito brought up about updating information on the city website. If you would remember, we created a document for Arbor Day on how do you care for your oak trees in Crescent City. So the hard copy of the document that we did together for Arbor Day is available at City Hall, as well as the one that we did for camellias. But I can also email the city manager that document again, which does give information on when do you hire an arborist versus when do you do it yourself, how do you mulch under the trees, in your yard, so that way it'll give you some language potentially just to put up on the city website.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
And then the other concern is in relation to what that gentleman brought up. I would love to hear, if there are any other ideas of locations that would be better. Again, I agree with the chair's response that if we already have a resource as a city, let's take care of that resource before we add anything else. So I think the importance of honoring that we already have Colbert Park, we already have Harry Banks Park. It's important for us to care for them. Whether that comes out of the city budget or not is secondary. I think as citizens, we can grassroots and volunteer those things. So I would like to volunteer my company to help be a proactive response to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, just so you know too, we have recently, we put in at Colbert Park, we put in I believe we did a wean down there, and we also did it was a plum, jigsaw plum tree. Those 2 trees, we have new lighting going in. I'm working on getting mulching around those trees and changing where the parking's at. And we have a person that just purchased the 5 acres of land all around the park. They've cleaned all that area up. And then we also have the new restaurant going in that got all their permits with St. John's River Water Management District. They're putting RV. That whole area is getting cleaned up. Anything that's bad is moving out because it's getting cleaned up. That park is gonna be beautiful. We repainted the signs, we just cleaned everything. And I'm working right now with our grant specialist to try to get new equipment in there for the kids. So we are doing everything we can to clean that up. It's been addressed, but we don't address it the same way, but it's being addressed.
Okay.
I appreciate it though, thank you.
Can you tell us what's going in there? We've been waiting. Do you
On,
have any, the new
it's
guy?
a barbecue restaurant. They're gonna have beach frontage, cabanas, they'll have rentals for kayaks and things of that nature. They're gonna have on the other side, tiny homes and RV slots for lodging, and it's gonna be good. The guy's owned 23 on the north end, the guy's owned 23 restaurants in the southeast, barbecue restaurants, so apparently they know what they're doing. We're all waiting and eagerly excited to have them open, which would be, I believe, Pam, do you recall what he said the date was? Was it the end of April?
4 weeks.
Okay, so about sometime mid-April, mid to end of April.
So kayaks or, jet skis?
I don't think they're gonna do jet skis. I mean, from what I was told, it's little rentals of kayaks and things of that nature, but, if he gets permitted and he can do it, I mean, that's their prerogative, private owner. I'm looking forward to that place being cleaned up and utilized and being somewhere that our community can go and enjoy Stella.
Your RVs would be dry camping.
I'm sorry?
The RVs would be dry camping, like those sites.
I believe so, yes, correct. And whatever they end up doing, they have to get it permitted, that's gotta go through review board, there's a lot of work for that. That is something that they're starting on, getting the plans submitted, I know they've already submitted to planning and zoning. We're just, we're at the beginning stages, but they're gonna get the restaurant portion open pretty quickly.
That's on Stella.
That's on, yes, on Vernon.
Whatever it's called.
Something.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is that
Talking to the mic.
finished?
Just talking to the mic if you can. Thank you.
Are we finished with the meeting?
We are, yes, ma'am.
it does say comments, future agenda items. I don't know, do we ever usually do that?
That's just something typical, I don't have anything for you all on that.
I guess.
I forgot how to close the meeting.
You asked for someone to,
Thank you, make a motion
a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
to adjourn. Second,
A second?
meeting is adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.